Well, I'll be back.
Okay, good. Look forward to it. If you may. Okay. 33rd Street, yes.
We went from 9:30 to 9:20.
I know, I was hoping that was something gonna work in our favor.
Breakfast?
Hello.
Except, let me go to the bathroom. I've been holding it for a while now.
Schedule that.
Decisions under pressure.
That's right.
So it seems with contractors, 6 times is a charm. You can finally get an estimate.
You mean you went through 6 contractors or?
6 people showed up. We discussed everything. I gave them drawings and never heard a word.
Yeah.
Or heard a word or two and then,
Right.
anyway.
You always gotta call them in January. That's when they're not working.
I started this last
No, that is
fall.
true, yeah.
There was one guy that strung me along and then vanished in about February.
Yeah.
And yeah, I really wanted to get this done this year. So
I'm just gonna photocopy this over.
Ay, ay, ay.
Okay.
I would suggest cocktails for these.
Huh?
I would suggest cocktails for these affairs.
That's a, we should
I can
have,
hardly stay awake with, you know, it's past my bedtime already.
Peter Brugere, and something light.
Yeah, right. I'd fall right asleep, like boom.
okay.
So, as I was discussing, and after numerous attempts at an estimate, I finally did receive one, which came to about half the purchase price of the house, so we're trying away from that
Mhm.
and going with a far more scaled back version of what we had hoped to do, and I don't know, maybe in the future we would do more, but
Okay, this is on the back, right?
yeah, it's all on the back. So, what we're really down to now, we're going to keep the bathroom upstairs at, everything's pretty much the same as it is on the outside, but for the porch and the deck portion. I do want to discuss window replacements. We talked about last time and said we would do the single pane to be consistent with the rest of the house, and I'm hoping to move forward with the bathroom soon, but we're just gonna stay in the little room we had and just literally just replace the window there, so I guess that fall, I don't wanna disrupt the exterior at all,
Mhm.
just, even if we can keep as much as possible, just the window itself.
Okay, remind us because,
Yeah.
you know,
Because
it's
you've
been
done
a
nothing
while.
since I was here.
Yeah. This is the, you know, essentially this portion and this
Yeah,
portion.
this is exactly what's there now.
Right.
It gets a little confusing with these, it seems like multiple roofs here, but essentially there was the house. They added, a porch on the first floor, I guess, at some point, and then enclosed it at some point. And this isn't a full second story, it's just, it's about, it's less than half
Right.
of the second floor, like a dormer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how long ago they put it in, but it has a clawfoot tub and such in it. I don't know if that was moved from somewhere else, but we're gonna keep most of the elements that are in the room also. Having a clawfoot tub cuts down a little on your room, but it belongs with the house.
Yeah.
So, what we're looking for now is really just the porch and the deck. We kept the screening, the same, it's just, we're going to a shed roof is kind of the difference between what you saw before. I had wanted to do a reverse gable off the back of the house. I thought it would look nicer, but,
Is
seems-
this shed roof existing?
yeah, over the bathroom.
Yeah.
So there's a shed over the, this is over the kitchen, dining room area.
Mhm.
This is over the bathroom already existing, so it's actually kind of consistent with what's there. We had hoped to change the whole back of the house and do a reverse gable and bring everything to that, but really the money was just quite, so we'll keep our cold spring sized bedroom and the fold out couch for guests.
What kind of roofing is that?
That is actually, it's rubber. It looks
Okay.
like it's there to stay. I don't wanna touch it.
Right,
So-
because what you're
Yeah.
talking about essentially a flat roof.
I think it's a little more angle than what he has here slightly,
Yeah.
but it's this, literally, it's like an inner tube material.
Mhm.
And
Right.
it seems as if
Single
they did,
ply.
seems like they did a really good job, and actually, what's not on here, I do want is an exhaust fan, but I would prefer to do that through one of the walls,
Mhm.
so we don't disturb the roof at all.
That's fine.
At some point in the future, yeah, again, I'd like to make other changes, probably re-roof this and that, but the roof doesn't appear to be more than maybe 10 years old right now.
Right, so really what you're
That's
asking
it, yeah,
would be the
yeah,
enclosed porch addition.
right, and we picked a sort of, as a, it's a half point, and structurally, there's like the way the house is laid out now,
Mhm.
this is sort of the point we'd like to use. This will later on become a kitchen here.
How about, is this guardrail,
So that's,
is that existing?
no, so part of the
Or-
deck, yeah, so this will be open deck,
Mm-hmm.
this will be porch, and none of that deck is there. Right now, there's a very small deck kind of
Mm-hmm.
coming away from the back of the house.
So, what you're talking about is essentially rebuilding this entire thing?
Yeah, right now, it's just a small piece like here, so we would go across and it would be half of it enclosed, half of it open.
Yeah.
And we'd like to leave this much not screened because there's a laundry room here. Try to keep some light down there. So yeah, it's the same plan we looked at, but for the reverse gable. Last time we had the
Right.
here
Mhm.
and up here. It was a match. So what it came down to is we needed to widen that structure, and we were talking about a cantilever that really just came into some very large sums of money.
Mhm. Now we're going back to the question of materials.
Yeah, I know. Washington, Lincoln, nobody's been here.
Jimmy
Yeah.
Carter? No.
You never
How
know.
about William Campbell? Did he?
I don't believe there's any fame whatsoever to this house. It actually is quite a nice house, and not much has been done with it. Most people by now would put a massive addition on the back. Instead, we have kind of a nice yard.
Yeah, I think that, the question more than anything else, at least that I would be looking for is, what are the details? In other words, what
Mhm.
does this guardrail look like? How does it
Yeah.
relate to, on
Well,
the
we
front?
wanted to, yeah, it would match the front. The front is done and there's a sort of square.
Mhm.
Whoever owned the house before us, actually, I've seen the like 1970 something historic photo
Mhm.
when they were doing the landmarking. The house looked terrible. The woman who owned it before did quite a bit of work
Right.
to bring it back. So there's good detail here, and I think it's what you'd want. So we
Right.
would carry that into the back the same way.
Yeah, I think that I wouldn't have any problem, sort of in not having the brackets and
Yeah.
the turn rail,
Right.
because you're dealing with screening, and so how do you bring that into a round shape?
Yeah.
But, I think that you need to look at, what sort of detail can you get there? I mean, our friend Sal
Mm-hmm.
Triano, you know, he was talking about chamfers and.
Okay,
And, you know, there are little things like that just, which do in fact make a difference.
okay.
And where your little posts come up here on this railing, do you cap that with something a little decorative or something?
Yeah, so we'd want to, I mean, because there's a disconnect between what you see in the front and what you see in the back
Mhm.
completely. We were going to,
But that's okay,
Go-
because this is
go
a
a
modern
little.
addition.
yeah, I mean, we were gonna go a little more modest and nothing that jumps out at you, but nothing really ornate.
Mm-hmm.
Am I in the right place, or should it more closely mirror the front?
The keep it simple thing,
Okay,
I think usually works better.
okay. So something like,
You're in a situation where it's visible, your rear yard is visible from, not Garden Street. Yeah, Garden Street, and also from the through parking lot and everything, but it's visible in bulk, but not in
Yeah.
detail. I
Yeah.
don't
Fine
think
detail, yeah.
carrying these really specific porch details into the back is
yeah,
is
the neighbor's house on
relevant.
this side, between me and the church, his house actually, his structure goes this far out.
right. Yeah.
So, yeah, like you're saying, it's not, all right, so, but, I'm not sure where to look for guidance for that, to bring you back something.
Well, I think that, what I would suggest is going around, the village and, taking a look and see how things were done elsewhere.
Okay,
And certainly if there's something that you think would be very appropriate, and if you take a photograph, then that'll
Okay.
help support your case that, there are precedents in the village
right.
for something similar.
But I think that the portions here will mirror the front, and we'll
Mhm.
bring that in. It's just a question of, these uprights
Mhm.
and the
Mhm.
rail across the top.
Not the sweet little house. And I know it's probably just a drafting thing, but they always show the lattices
Oh,
diagonal.
yeah, right.
And certain people on our board have an aversion to
Yeah.
diagonal lattice.
I thought I spoke
So
to him
do
about
our
that. I have to ask
design
him.
guidelines.
Oh, yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's,
I know,
I know.
unless it's documentable,
Yeah.
unless it's, I don't know what you got in front
Yeah.
right now, but,
underneath in the front is actually it's
Diagonal.
wood, but it's the diagonal stuff is what's underneath the porch. That's what they
See,
framed out
for-
anyway.
for something like that, you can say, well, this is what I got up front, and I'm just trying to carry it to the back, and
Yeah.
and I think that would be a valid argument.
that's
Okay.
true,
Okay,
because it's documentable.
Right.
yeah,
But also, is it really that big of a deal to take out the diagonal in the front and replace it with a nice square cut matter?
it's not pretty in there. And there's, actually, we moved the oil tank under there
Yeah.
to the one, we did a lot of work in the laundry area between foundation walls and other things. But, yeah,
Better having
we'll take a
it's
look at
better
that.
than having an exposed outdoor.
Well,
oil
it was
tank.
was
inside in the
Trailer park.
laundry room in the back, and it was getting quite old, and we wanted to redo the rooms, so we just took it out. Padala put a brand new tank under the porch instead.
Okay.
Cool.
Well,
Did you actually put in an application yet? You have not.
I didn't, so,
Okay.
let me just point out a couple things while I'm here. So, I'm correct that as long as we're using the same, we're gonna use the 1/1 on the windows, we're okay with that. There were 2 points here where, I'm gonna have the architect call out what's existing, he didn't here.
Right.
And some windows are moving slightly, like this is, will move, I think, a foot.
Mhm.
Just minor things, but when I bring it back, I'll
Yeah,
have detail.
I mean, you should be very clear as far as what's new, what's different,
Right,
what's being added.
okay,
The other thing, I'll tell you, I think that, with the other application that we had dealing with the porch, I mean, that was not in the national district
right,
and not exactly very contributing. I think we gave it a lot of leeway.
Mhm.
I'm a little bit concerned so that at least here we're using more natural products as opposed to straight pressure treating, or at least the things that certainly would be visible, because I think you've got your posts, sort of set back, and it'll probably be in shadow and so on, but
Yeah.
this is all going to stand proud, and it's going to be very visible, from the, from a lot of different, a
Right.
lot of different areas.
Okay, so that material should be what now?
It's some sort of natural wood.
Okay. For all of it, part of the decking?
Well, essentially what we're concerned about more than anything else is what is visible.
Correct.
In other words, and like I said, in some instances, we had people, they did structural elements in pressure treated wood, but then it was supposed to be clad in,
Mhm.
something like a cedar.
Okay. So we could look to either doing it with the pressure treated and cladding it,
Yeah,
or,
just doing it with real wood, regular wood.
so that's available in something like these, the major supports?
Well, the major supports, I think that I'd be willing to go pressure treated,
Okay.
again, because they're sort of stepped back.
Yeah, okay.
But I think that, if there is a way,
Okay.
well, I'll read to you what is in our. Pressure treated wood cannot be used in any exposed area. See steps addition railing.
But that's in the,
He is in the National Register.
he's in the National District.
Mhm.
What are you looking at? Oh, you're looking at columns and posts?
I'm looking at porch.
Oh. I was looking at deck. I would consider this to be a deck, not a porch.
Oh. It's an enclosed deck porch.
In which case, well, you have more leeway if it's a deck.
Screen porch,
Yeah, I mean, it's a, yeah.
screen porch, deck.
I think, I consider the porch more what's in the front.
Right.
Yeah.
So in the National District, there are no guidelines pertaining to decks. The prohibition of pressure treated wood for decking is only in the local district. So I guess it is up to the chair whether this is a deck or a porch.
No deck shall be constructed on the side of the building facing a street. No exposed concrete block or concrete piers or pressure-treated posts.
Right, that's for the local district.
Right, in the National Register, it's district regulations and then additional ones for the National Register, so there are no additional. Okay.
The only thing that surprises me is your garage appears to have no back door.
No, it's not even tall enough in the back.
Oh.
Believe me, it's
Mm.
really not that tall inside, I can tell you. Between the top of my head and my motorcycle helmet, we've got the scars to prove it.
Yeah, but that's why you have a motorcycle helmet.
It comes to about this high in the back. So, I'm sorry, but what resolution did we come to for the deck porch materials?
Well, I think it's going to come down. I think it's going to come down to how you're treating. One thing that I'd just be curious to see a detail on is both for the screen porch and for the lower portion where the lattice is going to be incorporated.
Yeah, right.
What's the exact connection between the structure and the
A
a
lattice.
secondary material? Is it gonna be your structural material, and then is it gonna be framed out, and then there's gonna be lattice? And likewise up on the porch, is it gonna be,
So
you know, you're gonna have these vertical members, and then is your screen gonna be,
Right.
you know, pinched between
Yeah.
a secondary wood frame, which is then put into position? So just
Right.
getting
Okay.
those details sort of opened up, and that to me would probably help to determine whether your posts, you know, whether, as we discussed earlier, whether they could be a painted, pressure-treated wood, or if they would need to be something, a natural product, or a natural cladding on steel or something else.
Right, I think on a lower level, I had considered just installing them from the rear, so it's just a clean, you know, there's no trim, there's nothing, but obviously up top there needs to
Well,
be, there needs to be something else.
Yeah, the thing that you have to keep in mind, and I'm not sure that this is drawn accurately, but you've got, what you're gonna have here, and this is particularly true at this end, is you're gonna have a header beam. Now, you know, essentially what you're gonna have to do is have your architect figure out how it's gonna be framed, because, you know, with this cantilever, I would assume that the floor joists are gonna go beyond
Right.
this header beam here. And so, you're gonna have some depth to all of this. You're gonna have the ends of joists here, which are gonna have to be clad.
Right.
So all of that, you know, you've got a fascia board, so what's that fascia board made out of?
So that maybe the better answer here is if we went with the pressure treating it on the lower and this cladded, what's up here?
Well, I think that, you know, because, if I remember correctly, you can see this from, you know, a lot of different places, particularly this side, right?
Church parking lot.
The back is the more visible side. The back and the east and the north are more visible because the south is obscured by the house next door.
Yeah.
And also the
which is the,
grade.
you know, a church, right, the Lady of
Yeah,
Loretto
so
building.
there's a house, so what's labeled as the right side / south
Right.
elevation, that is the elevation that's obscured by the house next door. There's also you can see the grade line is marked.
Yeah,
There's also this kind of funny change in grade.
Yeah, they've been adding a little bit of height over time.
So
The fence, they've gone about that far up the fence, so far with fill.
it's a little bit, so that side is more obscured.
On the other side, it's a very large house, but they have a deck as well, between their deck and their garage is a view.
Yeah, and you'd be able to
into
see
the
it
side.
from northern, you'd be able to see it
Yeah,
from
that's what I
part
mean,
of,
from northern, right.
from, you kind of see a bit of it diagonally from garden. But it's the
It's
back
mostly-
and the north.
Yeah, and I think it's mostly the upper stuff that would stand out again.
Right.
Yeah.
The people behind us have a garage and the house, so there's a piece of it through.
Okay, so, to give you an answer directly, according to the guidelines, the decking can be pressure treated, right? That's what,
The decking can be, yes.
okay. But it specifically says you shouldn't use pressure treated posts.
Yes.
So, I think that we're all in agreement that everything up here is probably, you know, more visible and needs to be thought of a little bit more carefully.
Okay.
We need to use as much natural wood as possible. I think down here, we're willing to work with you
Okay.
a little bit more, but,
Yeah, maybe we can cover most of that actually. You know, put the screening on the outside and then use something that covers the pressure treating.
well, and, you know, because the other thing to keep in mind, and it just caught my eye right now, is you've got a post here, here, and here, and then some different size posts here.
honestly wasn't sure exactly what he was doing. I think these were to accommodate the size of the panels of the,
Alright, well then, that
these
doesn't line up.
maybe,
Yeah, this is drawn incorrectly anyway, because this measurement here
yeah,
is smaller than this measurement here. And it should
Okay.
be,
oh, right, side by side, they should be the right
yeah,
height.
because that's.
Yeah.
And how is it, the change in grade accommodated from here to here? Is there a wall?
There isn't, they've, literally, the neighbor, it seems over years, has just built up with bricks and soil on their side of the fence.
But this is not right at the property line.
It's, I think we're about
Now look.
3 feet back there, yeah.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
it's just off, yeah. But like, as I said, their house, they've got a large addition on the back that goes back about that far.
I think, this thing needs to be,
Mhm.
thought through a little bit more carefully.
Okay.
I mean, why do we have lattice here but not here?
Because I just wanted to still be able to get light. This is a laundry room.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to still be able to try to get, natural light in there.
So
as
why
much
even
as
have the
possible.
lattice?
I thought it was a better look in reducing, the appearance, the size of it. If that's not
Mhm.
the case, or if, you think it should be more or less, we're open. As I said, I preferred it that way just to try to keep some light downstairs. I'm not sure how big a difference that's going to make, but.
I don't know how much light you're gonna get since this deck goes all the
Right.
way out to here and
Right.
those windows are here.
Yeah.
So it's,
The lawn comes, there's a slight grade downward, through the back. You kinda don't know until you see it.
mm.
I'm not
Well-
sure if they're all the way across it's better, then we just
Well,
do that.
I think, if it's all the way across, you
Oh, no, I'm
should.
sorry, there's also a door here.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
I missed that part.
right,
Yeah, there's a door to the basement
Mm.
right here.
all right, so that, maybe you have an opening here and you have an opening here, but see, for
Okay.
example, this post is inside and, it kind of continues the concept as far as the cantilever. Usually, your joist would be here, and then, this is a header beam that goes all the way across.
Right.
But I would think that you would want the spacing of the posts to be a little bit more regular,
Okay,
and that maybe it should be repeated on this side.
and you're
and
saying
then-
it should go out to the end instead of?
No, I think you can keep it back like that.
Okay.
I think it just, it seems like you've got a big post, small, 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 big, big,
Yeah.
so it's like
Okay.
a hodgepodge, and I think that,
Okay, there's some consistency in those, whatever they're gonna be.
yeah. That, and also, you've got some pretty big lattice panels, and,
Mm.
Where's that? Oh,
here, and I would assume here, which is the side here,
right.
or is it the side here?
Well, we could make it either. It would seem to make sense to attach it here, but to,
Well,
structurally, I'm not sure what he needs. But
Yeah,
we can
and-
do that.
Yeah, I think that's what you need to do.
Yeah,
I
it seems
think
like
this,
it only came out to here, right where this is. That's where he's got it.
yeah. So I think you need to look at that. And the other thing to keep in mind is that, when you have this, you're gonna have a little bit of, something over here, because the lattice is not gonna go down to the ground, and you need to attach, you need something to clamp it in
Mhm.
place. And so you're gonna have a little trim piece there.
Right. Okay.
And we'll be giving a test on this in a half an hour.
Yeah. Trying to just make sure I get that.
So these are a lot of details to work out in a
Mhm.
drawing. Our next meeting is on the 8th. You would need to get everything submitted by Are we to the Friday before?
Yeah, I think that's.
So, that's for the hearing?
That would,
No,
no, I don't think that this would, does this need a public hearing?
okay.
So our next meeting is on November 8th. You would need to have all of your materials submitted by November 3rd, which is not this Friday, but next Friday,
Yeah, okay.
which might be a little too soon for you,
Okay.
but
He's,
just let us
actually,
know.
he's been exceedingly easy to work with, this guy.
Oh, okay.
I've made him crazy, we're up to version 10 here. I asked at what point he leaves me, and he said, oh, it'll be a little bit longer.
All right, otherwise, you know, we normally have a second meeting every month, but because of some
Okay.
Thanksgiving and everything else,
Sure,
we
sure.
might not meet again until December 13th for a voting meeting, just so those can be your two kind of
And December 13th, okay.
deadlines to look at.
Yeah, I'll try to get together with him,
So-
there's a lot of little.
We're gonna allow Thanksgiving to interfere with our mission.
Yeah.
Well, also, I'm gonna be
Okay.
in England, so.
Let me ask you one other question, when we're talking about the screening. Considering, not close to the line, I had considered, Joe, in these instead, sliders. Is that, you know,
Well-
kind
Where,
of
where are
for,
you talking about?
and just in the porch generally to keep out the weather, and also on my neighbor's side, you know, on the short side, it would give them, you know, more privacy. I mean, if I'm on my back deck, they,
But the only place I see you have a door is here,
right,
and that's onto,
right. What I'm saying is this whole side on his side is, you
Yeah.
know, all screened.
okay.
So I considered, instead of just the screen, if I wanted to do some sort of a window system, or maybe just sliders, what is that
Well,
usually?
Like blinds?
No, I mean like doors, like sliding glass doors that are screened.
Well, but are you talking about putting glass here as opposed to screen material?
Well, it would be both. Of course, I'd want it really open, right?
I know, but what you're
And I
talking
would
about
do the
is.
railings on the outside, so it would be the right look.
Right, but I mean, what you're talking about is putting glass here as
Right.
opposed to,
Right. Instead of just screen panels.
I think the thing which you then need to take a look at is lot coverage, because I don't think,
If it's got a roof, it counts as lot coverage,
there's-
even if it's screened all
Right.
around,
okay, all right.
even if there's no screens.
Yeah.
Well, the screen being on the outside and putting glass there, I think that, I mean, I can't see that being a big deal one way or another.
Except the proportions of the glass, I mean, you wouldn't have a sliding glass door.
Well, I don't see any
Yeah.
need for a sliding glass door, because,
To begin with, there wouldn't be a door, because then you just have this big
Yeah.
drop.
Yeah, right. Well, no, that's what I'm saying. This one, the railing would be on the outside. It's the only
Okay.
reason I considered that, but it would have to be spaced in.
okay,
It would
well,
depend on what it was.
I mean,
The minute you're putting, glass in here, you're
Mhm.
probably talking about some sort of transom effect and,
Right.
I don't want one of those ugly, like, three-part things going on there. It would have to be,
that's probably what you'd have to do if you
Yeah.
had the space.
Okay.
I don't really see
If
how
you
it
had the
would be a
spacing, if you
gain,
would
because
just
you're,
re-spaced somehow, it would.
Yeah.
because
Well-
unless it's an obscured glass, you're gonna still have visual.
No, I mean sound-wise,
Oh.
and for us on the inside, for rain, that's all. There's no way I'm
Yeah.
ever gonna use this in the winter,
Hmm.
but, just, as far as rain and noise was my
well,
consideration.
I can tell you, putting in painted glass is gonna be a hell of a lot more expensive than putting in screen.
That's why we've not hit that yet, but,
Yeah.
okay, I'll take a look at that, and if we wanna consider it, if that's the case, I'll bring an alternative
Okay.
to consider that. Yeah.
Cool.
And I hope to see you on the third,
Eight.
On the
submit
third?
by the third.
Yeah.
Submit by the third, or either on the eighth.
I mean, at a minimum, submit an application so that we know that you're working on it and you'll have it in the, okay. You get to keep that, Sean.
Thank you.
That's great.
Just one to go. Thank you very much.
Okay, good night.
I'm then I'm gonna just break into
And a
everybody's
very
house in
patient
Cold Spring.
person.
I cannot believe you're still here willing to do this, but
I can't believe it either.
you're a just person, thank you. And I know nothing, so I should be quick, because you
Okay.
can just advise me. I mean, Kathleen said,
You Mrs. Gillespie?
yes, hi.
Hi.
Yeah, could we do
Yes,
introductions?
Al Skalinski.
Oh, I know you. Our kids went to
Carolyn
school
Basham.
together.
Oh, okay.
Hi, Carolyn.
Sean Conway.
Hi, Shelley. Yes, okay, so this is the shape that it's in now.
Mhm.
It's pretty horrible, and I'm finally looking at retiring, and I'm sorry my husband's not here, he had a catheterization today, so he's in Vassar for the night, so I'm footloose and fancy free to come here, and anyway.
Stay until all hours of the night.
Really.
Yeah, go wild, right, yeah.
God love those stints. So, we're trying to make the house something we can grow old in. And so I talked to Phil D'Amato and Luis Otalvo. I think you may know them because they've done work in the village before.
I don't know them
I
personally.
know
But-
Phil, he used to teach at Al.
Yes, right. And so he put in, we had a new roof put on because the roof was leaking, so we had a new roof put on the garage, and that, you can see it in the next picture, the garage new roof.
Mhm.
And that's the same as the roof on the top of the house too. And so we were looking at this horrible mess of a porch and thinking, well, we need to put a new roof on the porch. Well, we really need to replace the stairs and the railing because they're old and falling apart. And then Phil looked at it and said, that the foundation really doesn't even have any integrity anymore. This part right here, the actual planking here, this.
The deck.
The deck, thank you, is no longer, has the integrity to support all of that.
Well, if nobody's fallen through it lately, what the heck?
So, no, that's the roof, my husband was up on the porch roof trying to fix it and his foot went through. So, I mean, it's really bad, it's really bad. So I thought, okay, let's just do the whole thing, we'll just tear it down and build a new porch. And so, I had this picture of one that, this is silly, it's Phil's son up in Beacon, it's not even Cold Spring. But it's very hard to find a picture of a porch with such steep steps. I mean, that's part of the problem with the front of our house, is dealing with that. As you can see, our lovely next door neighbors, Mylene and Michael, it would be great if we had a porch like that, but we don't
Much
have,
higher.
just much higher. So we have to accommodate that. At the same time, we want to be consistent with village design, and I kind of don't know where to begin in terms of, like, I'm writing down, okay, no pressure treated wood, I know that all of this is visible. When I when I emailed back and forth with Kathleen, she said, in looking at this picture of the porch that I thought was similar, because, the stairs are on the wrong side, but it is a steep stair up to it. She felt that it was too ornate for the basic look of the house.
I disagreed with her on that when I saw her message.
Okay.
I really thought
Okay.
that,
I
I think this is a quite simple porch.
I thought so too.
I've seen porches that have that type of bracket here in Cold Spring. It's a simple square column, there's square balustrades in the railing, and it's simple.
I was hoping to replace this, it's really trash, it's like plywood, I think they probably had railing originally and then just
Are you talking about?
covered, they just
Yeah,
covered
that's
it
the
with
siding.
this.
Yeah.
I'd love to remove that and get the look of railing again,
Well, I
unless
think,
you
yeah,
disagree.
I think that, you pop one out and take a look at it, because obviously it would have to be attached to something, and I think you're right. I think that there probably are, there is a standard railing because that always seems to be an answer rather than fixing a railing and
yeah.
just slap something on top of it.
By the
So-
way, your house is brick, right?
Liam,
Hmm?
my husband,
Brick, no,
oh, my
the
house is brick, I thought you said my husband. Oh my God, yes, the house is brick, it was painted gray, a lot of the gray paint, I wish I'd gotten a better picture of the side, I can do that. But,
It's got those nice lintels on
Mm.
the windows.
it has, the paint has worn away, and I don't know, when I mentioned sandblasting, which is, you know, like a city term to Philly, said, no, this are too, the brick won't sustain
No.
that, but you could pressure wash it and see,
Or you could use
if,
chemical.
you know, so, again, that's another question, but the porch comes first,
Mhm.
you know, would you want us to repaint the house gray again, or could we restore
We
it
don't
back to
do-
brick?
We don't
or-
do color,
Oh, okay,
so we don't do paint.
okay.
I mean, we can.
Well,
s-
we do,
We do paint, I mean, like in terms of, we were talking about paintable,
right,
Pressure treated wood.
whether or not to repaint
Yeah.
brick. I can, very quickly, brick was never meant to be painted.
We'd be delighted to have it brick again.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I remember asking a guy who was a conservator, and he said, how do you get rid of paint once somebody has already painted? He says, let it flake off.
Well, it's doing a very good
Because-
job on our house.
Because if you sandblast it, you're gonna damage the finish.
Right.
And typically brick has harder outside than inside, so once, and all you have to do is to go take a look at the chapel of Our Lady. That's what they did, they sandblasted the brick, and it's it's sort of, once you take away that hard surface, it starts deteriorating.
Oh, yeah.
It
no.
becomes porous, it starts, absorbing moisture, and then, you get the freeze and the boom, and the stuff just falls right off. It's
Well, our
horrible.
chimney was becoming compromised. He was worried about it when he was putting on the roof, so there was some sort of sealant. It's not, you can't tell, but that there's a covering on it, but it seems to have solved that problem. Is that something that we would
I think
treat
you
the
talked
brick
about
with?
flashing. Some sealant on the brick?
On the
or-
brick of the
or-
fire, of the chimney?
No, I mean, the problem is that brick construction typically is porous no matter what. I mean, it's, even if you get the hardest brick, it's still gonna be porous because you have mortar joints. Mortar joints are not as hard as the brick itself. The way it's supposed to work is that, if brick gets wet, it only goes in a certain distance, and then next sunny days, all of that moisture gets pulled out when the sun comes out and the weather's warm. That's the way typically brick has held up quite well. Once you paint it, now you've created a barrier on the outside, so as moisture gets in, it can't get out. So that's the problem with painting brick. And the sealant.
We didn't paint it, it was
Yeah,
painted
well,
when we bought it.
no, a lot of people did, because,
Yeah, no, we didn't.
in real heavy rain, you sort of assume that moisture will go in one way, but, in a lot of instances, you get heavy rain, it'll go in further. And so people wanted to, stop that cycle, and so they would paint the brick, but all they do is they wind up creating more problems.
No, we like the brick.
Yeah.
It's just that if we did expose it again, would it be too old and vulnerable? I mean,
Well, no, I mean, you let the paint flake off, and, every now and then you power wash it, just to sort of get whatever's loose off, and just let it flake.
okay, all right, it will
The
reveal
only
itself.
successful, real removal jobs I've seen have been using chemical removers.
Uh-huh. And that doesn't hurt the brick?
Well, some of them do, you
Some
have
of
to
them
know,
do.
you have to know what you're doing.
There are specific ones that can be used on brick and others that cannot. Some will absorb it in a nasty way, and some will just kind of sit on the surface, and then you can peel the whole mess off.
Okay, all right, well, like I've
Okay.
stripped a couple of chairs, So.
Well, it's similar to that,
Yeah,
actually.
right.
But
Okay,
huge.
so porch, advise me please, one,
Are there any,
If
do
you
we have
know
any
it's-
suggestions of any taller porches of this?
is
I
there a
can think of a lot of
person?
taller porches, but I
Um,
can't think of any that are
Wise
of
Road.
this style of house.
Wise Road, but not that, well, actually, Wise Road's is, because Wise Road is a brick house. Wise Road is, number 8 Chestnut.
Number 8 Chestnut, the Italianate house?
It wasn't originally an Italianate house, that's the
But
whole
that's the one that
thing.
you're talking about.
8 Chestnut, the Wilsons, it used to be the
Okay,
Wilsons.
you know the corner house that has the mansard roof?
Mhm.
It's the next house over.
Oh,
It's like
Okay.
a brick colored brick.
And that was an 1840s house that George Harney remodeled in the 1860s.
and they have a high porch?
They have a high porch.
Okay, so, first things first, I know you need drawings. Can you recommend anybody who
Can do drawing.
can do drawings?
We can't recommend.
You can't, okay,
Even though we just did today.
okay, all right.
We will disavow any knowledge of that activity.
I would speak to your contractor and ask them if there's somebody that they, cause it would just be,
Sometimes your contractor can just do a drawing.
yeah.
Okay.
And if
I
not,
mean, I
then
see a
they
lot.
certainly know people who
Alright.
process construction documents and they could probably do it pretty easily.
All right. So I mean, we're not looking to, the porch is gonna be exactly where it is. It's not gonna be any wider or taller. It's gonna be exactly where it is. We just want to expose the railing, have railing rather than this flat thing. The posts will probably be, if I'm not mistaken, these posts were probably the original placement of the
Mhm.
posts. So that would be fine with us if those posts were in the same placement.
You
But,
probably, well, okay.
yeah, so what am I looking at in terms of, what kind of wood, what kind of, do you recommend a certain kind of cornice or material,
Well, I think that, before we get to materials, because, that becomes my big bugaboo, but, when you're looking at this thing, I
Mhm.
think that, try to have, if you get somebody, have them remove some of the stuff and see what you're dealing with, because what it looks like, to me, what it looks like is that this was a mullion, but it may not be original. I'm sort of curious as to what this is, and it looks like this may be a screen panel that somebody put in there.
Oh, yes, there were screens.
Right.
There
Yeah.
were screens. And they were the kind, when you were they were a screen where they slapped the frame on this side and slapped the frame on this
That-
side and the screen was
right.
in between.
Because, otherwise you wouldn't really have this, which is the door.
Right,
Yeah, which was screen door.
right.
And I
So,
don't think
but I don't
that
think
those
that, I
are-
don't think that's original. I mean,
I'm sure
No,
it's not
I'm sure it's
original.
not.
yeah.
Because there's no reason why, I mean, naturally, you'd have a post here, a post here, and a post here. But obviously, whatever panelized system they were using, they had to divide it, into these sections. So that's why you have these,
Right.
these 4 vertical
Yeah.
members,
Right.
which, because these are, I would question the structural integrity of these narrower things holding up the roof. I mean, it's
Yeah, I
potentially
think,
supported on just the 2 ends,
I
but
don't think so. I think,
No, there's
I-
another one back here.
where?
that You can't see, it's just the edge of it right here, behind
No,
the
yeah,
tree.
he said that, yeah. It looks like.
Oh, you're right.
that
Yeah, if you look on
structure-
this one, you can see it.
4.
Right.
That white thing is on either side of the post. So yeah, I would.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
yeah, okay, so, so is this a post here and the edge, and this is,
That was just open,
it's just open?
yeah.
Just open.
And,
I mean, we
that
don't
was
need a door
built,
there
I would,
because.
I would say that was built when they put in the screens.
Mhm.
And then, also, if this was a railing, and they wanted to put in screens, then
Right.
they've gotta cover that,
So
because,
the bugs can,
so the bugs don't get in.
okay.
Now, the one thing which you may wanna do to, again, look for, clues as far as how to approach this is, take a look at that one,
Which one?
The Dugans,
yeah,
the 26,
and only because it's also a brick building, it looks like the posts are fairly similar.
Except actually, their front porch is partially completely enclosed with solid material.
this, the Dugans?
Yeah, the
No,
one.
that's, this is very small
Small.
and completely open.
Okay.
No, just that corner is open. The rest of it is built out to the.
Right, it's built out to the, you're right, it's a room, it's an add-on room,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Well,
Yes.
okay, so what they did was they took a porch and
They enclosed
turned it
part.
into living space.
They enclosed part of the porch.
So are you suggesting it would be better to go with this, I mean, their steps, they only have 3 steps, again, we have that higher thing.
Well, the business about the steps, the building code right now says, tread needs to be 11 inches rise or can't be more than 7 inches. But the riser, yeah. But I don't know if that also applies to residential, private house. I was surprised because I asked about it, and the guy down on Market Street with the little, I remember talking to Bill about that because he was doing something, and he says, well, that doesn't apply. So, the first thing to find out is, what are the limitations as far as how high the riser can be and what's the size of the tread. And the only reason I say that is if you have a big height and the treads need to be bigger, then you're gonna wind up pushing this thing out further. And then you start getting into a problem because it doesn't look like you have much room in front.
Now, you probably do have a couple of feet.
There's a square, there are
Yeah,
a couple of
there's a
feet of sidewalk
Sidewalk.
before the sidewalk.
Right.
This is the line between the sidewalk and.
Right, right.
Which is
So-
probably the property line, but.
So
we're not
so
necessarily
you're
sure.
saying, I mean, how do I find out? So you're saying this might not be a legal tread size?
And not legal now.
Uh-huh, so if
Because
we
the
were gonna
codes
rebuild,
have
we have to.
changed
I
over.
see. Okay,
So if you're gonna rebuild it, then it may change the configuration.
I mean, we certainly don't want them any steeper, we're old, we don't
Yeah,
want
if you build them,
There you go.
if you build
It's
them
like-
to code, it's gonna be a lot more comfortable.
Yeah,
That's
oh,
why it's
well,
the code.
lovely, we
Yeah.
like that, we like that.
By the way, one of the things I noticed is that on this side of the porch, okay, there was like a little old doorway there. On the driveway
On this side here, there is a doorway
Yeah,
going to this area here.
right.
Which is a concrete 4-foot wide space underneath the porch.
Yeah, well,
It's just
it's
a,
better than having mold down it.
it's
Um,
true, it's true.
Is it a depression? I mean, is it a full height space? Do you walk down steps to get into it? Or
You,
just
you
go
walked out, you stoop to get through this little hobbit door
straight? Right.
and go down 3 or 4 steps, and then it's a full height, basement height,
So it's kind of like
Concrete
Peter
box.
Farrell's house.
Yeah,
on the
Farrell's
end.
house, yes.
So on the corner, right across from Whistling Willie's, there's that brick house, which is similar
Right on the
color to
corner.
yours, and they have a porch that's above a sort of open glassed-in porch that's half above grade, half below grade.
that's,
Yeah,
that's,
that's
yeah,
what I'm thinking.
no, are you, you're saying on the riverside?
Right on the
across
corner,
street,
no,
or-
right on the
oh,
corner
on
of
our side?
90 and 301.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Gas
Right next-
station, there's the gas station, Whistling Willie's, this house, Peter Farrell's house, across from
Wait,
the
the
church.
gas station's here, Whistling Willie's is across the street.
Hmm. And then here is the house I'm talking about.
Oh, 301 is,
Yep.
Yeah,
okay, so, but I thought the other house you're talking about is right next to it?
No,
That's-
the other
that's
house
like
is a
three
few
or-
down, a
three
few doors
down.
down.
Yeah, that's like
Oh,
here.
okay.
But anyway, that house in the corner, it's a brick house, a gray brick house. On the, it's not the main facade, but on the side facade that faces 90,
Okay.
there's this wood porch that's, it looks almost like a second floor porch that's above I don't even know what would you
Light
call
well.
it? It's a light well, but it's
Yeah,
it's
a
I mean,
high
it's kind of
basement.
windowed in,
It's a
yeah.
high basement.
well, yeah, and the thing to remember is that the way that it used to be set up is that there was a difference between a cellar and a basement. A cellar was, the height of the wall was was below,
More than 50% of the
fif-
height of the wall was below grade.
Right. And the importance of the difference is that a basement was considered livable space, so you can have an apartment in it, you rent rooms for what and where. If it's a cellar, then it couldn't be used for living. But, you know.
So how does this affect, in rebuilding the porch? Do you think that we're in fair territory to remove this whole thing and redo it? Or are you thinking that we should somehow repair this? I mean, we wouldn't be taking down the whole thing because this, as I said, this is concrete. This is no, yes.
Concrete is down below.
This,
Your concrete is down below
I mean,
here.
I think the concrete is, I think the top of the concrete wall is that, here. And because you can see the concrete on the side of the house. Yeah,
There's a wall behind this thing?
yeah,
No,
concrete wall.
this is not open,
No.
there's no air flowing
No,
through the
no,
lattice.
there are two windows, two weird windows behind this.
Wait, are they in the same wall as this wall?
No,
back
no,
here?
no, no, no.
No, they're
Yeah,
all the way
they're out
here.
in front, yeah, there's probably, I don't know,
So it's
Five
kind
feet,
of exactly
maybe?
what Peter Farrell has,
Yeah.
except you just have lattice hanging on the front of it.
yeah, yeah.
If you took the lattice off, I'd like to see what the windows look like.
Oh, they're all, they're these red, I don't know, okay.
And then is your basement, and then do you have like usable
Then,
space in your
then
basement?
when you go, then there's a door, it's a concrete box with these two windows and a door that leads into the real basement, and they're from the
And your
first
basement's
floor
a
of our
full
house.
height basement.
It's a full height basement. Oh, I can't even, it's been, when we had the engineer do it, so we had all these plans and we were gonna put in a bedroom down there and a bathroom. And the engineer gave us, the report, it was all good. And then we looked, when we started trying to build a bathroom down there, and he said it's still dirt, it's a dirt basement. They had built a concrete slab on which the oil, what do you call it, the furnace and all of that live, and kind of lipped around the whole room and put a flooring on it, and if you lift the flooring up, it's all dirt. So
Amazing.
so it's not livable space because we never had the resources to,
Right.
get the men come in, pour the concrete and stuff. So, again, that's something we would love to do, but I feel like the porch is,
Yeah.
right now we're an eyesore. I hate that. I don't wanna do that. And I also worry about safety. I'm thinking the trick-or-treaters are coming, my husband just shored up these two railings,
Right.
so that they wouldn't be dangerous, but we wanna,
I think
Thanks.
that we need to get probably an architect to lay out the stairs. Essentially, from the sense I get is that, do you want this to be enclosed with screening?
no.
Okay, so I think that you can probably get rid of a lot of this stuff. You can get rid of this siding, which was slapped onto the rail.
Mhm.
But I think that you need to take a look at this, because these do look like they're rather shallow steps. And basically, you need to have somebody lay out, a code compliant set of stairs. And, I'll give you one hint as far as, you're gonna have to come to us because, you're changing all of this and we're gonna have to see what you're changing it to. But, I think that you can, I would suggest using, quality wood, rot resistant wood in doing this stair because, this is out there right in front.
Mhm.
And it's gonna be the first thing you see.
Are you, if you told us that this is really consistent with village design and you really want us to recreate this, what we would do that, if that's what you thought.
Well,
But do you think the open design is more,
I think a more open design like that is much more consistent with what else we have in the village.
Yeah.
I mean, just look at the houses on either side of you. I know that
Yes.
they're shaped slightly differently, but I also to your earlier question. I mean, we can't see it obviously because it's covered with this lattice. Not knowing that this was a solid concrete wall that your porch is built on, I would not have been opposed to the porch being removed and rebuilt. But now I'm very confused, knowing
So
that
if-
it's built on this concrete wall.
well, you can still
if this is
rebuild
a
it.
concrete wall, then what we'd be rebuilding is this
Right.
and this.
Right.
Right, and how
Assuming
about,
the
how about
concrete
your
wall
deck?
is stable, I mean,
Well, that's my question: is why it's there in the
How
first
about
place?
it, this is what Phil said, this is why he said we need a new porch rather than a new roof and new stairs and railing, is, as you can see, these guys they're kind of pulling up, they're
Okay, they're
warping, he said if you're gonna invest in this, you should make it
Replace
whole.
the deck.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so,
When you're down in the space underneath and you look up, what do you see? Do you see floor joists?
yes, it's
Okay.
solid.
Okay,
Unlike
indeed.
the roof, which I had pictures on my phone and they're gone now, but if you look up at the roof of the porch,
Yeah.
it's missing whole sections that have just rotted away.
Okay, so, let's focus on the things that you are looking for. Essentially, you wanna rebuild this. When you say, if we're advocating as far as an open, but that sounds like what you want.
It is,
All right,
yes.
so then we agree with you. We confirm your good judgment.
I guess what I'm saying is, if you said, oh, no, that would be wrong, then we'll deal with it. But what we would like is a design more similar to our neighbors and that kind of open,
It sounds like what you're looking for is there underneath all of the stuff that was added on.
Yeah.
we believe so.
Yeah.
But we don't believe that it has the structural integrity to reveal it. We think we need to replace it.
Well, the thing is that, what you need to do is open it up and take a look. And the reason I say that is that originally, I would have said, well, okay, they want to cover up some rotten balusters and stuff like that. But actually,
Probably
it's
don't
the
have any
screening.
down
I
Probably
think-
don't have any balusters underneath there, they probably ripped it all out.
No, that means you gotta remove them. My feeling
Also,
is
you need
that they
something-
did this because of the screening.
Yeah, probably because of the screening, but I will bet you, if you rip that off, you're not gonna find balusters underneath there, you're just gonna
Then
find.
what's holding,
Oh, no, there's probably some, probably put studs every 3-4 feet or something like that,
Right.
yeah.
Oh, and the thing
Only one
is,
way to find out.
yeah,
Okay, all right.
it's only, and I think that, laying this out, you may wind up with the stair pushing out a little bit, but I think that, as Sean said, that if you do a code compliant stair, it would be a lot easier to,
We'd be delighted.
Run up and down.
Yeah, we'd be delighted. Shallower.
You are gonna wanna, get a sort of drawing of it, or a measurement of it, and look at where your actual lot line is. Because
Oh.
most houses in the village.
End of the sidewalk?
And,
they were kind of fast and
not
loose.
even the sidewalk.
Really?
So you
Well,
may
Main,
find,
Main Street is a lot worse, okay? But Chestnut Street, I don't think is very bad. Look at your survey.
yeah, just look at
Okay.
the survey.
All right, okay. Okay,
Because you just, I'm sure it would not be a big deal, but if you do need to buy, 6 inches of property from the village in order to have a code compliant
okay.
stoop,
That would
it's
be
just
something I
a
need to know.
conversation needs to have with them.
I kind of doubt it, but
Yeah, okay. Okay, so the survey will tell me that.
Mhm.
All right. One last question, which is kind of silly. I don't know if you can see it, but on this thing here, there's a step from this deck into the house.
Mhm.
Up?
A step up, yeah, it's like almost,
Mhm.
well, maybe 5 inches. Now, 2
6
inches
inches.
of it is this concrete slab that's the base of the entryway. But what's below it is not necessary. Is there any reason why the deck couldn't butt up right again? In other words, the deck would be raised up like 2 inches? If that's an issue, we won't even
Well,
do it, but,
This might be a water issue.
do you know?
yeah,
Oh,
the original reason why you had, that step up was actually required by the code.
Mhm.
In any entrance, and that was because rain and snow. Now that has gone away, and it has gone away because of ADA. ADA requires
Right.
that, you be level on both sides. And so what had been a code older houses, you'll see that step up because it was a code requirement.
that's what it was.
We can leave it, we can leave it.
Yeah.
Just-
I
At 70, we started rethinking everything.
I don't
It's
think
like-
you really need it. If you have a deep enough porch roof, water's not gonna be a problem.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, what you're suggesting is that maybe you take the entire porch deck and raise it,
3 inches.
yeah, so that it's level.
And yeah, there still would be this little, the concrete slab is like it would still be maybe a 2-inch step. I don't know how to,
I wouldn't, either you keep it the way it is or you take it up so it's level. I wouldn't leave it 2 inch because, that's one of those things where people could miss it and it becomes a tripping hazard.
Yeah, sometimes
Okay.
a 5-inch step is less.
it's less,
Is
okay.
less of an obstacle than a 2-inch
You
step.
see it as a step rather than, missing it.
Okay, all right.
If you've ever stubbed your toe on like the front of your fireplace, it's the same concept. But you've never stubbed your toe
No, we don't
on
have
your,
a fireplace.
on your last
We
step
just
going
have
up the
chimney.
stairs.
We just have chimney. They boarded everything up and, all right, okay.
Cool.
I thank you so much. Kathleen said you would.
course.
I really appreciate it. So, I got an architect, I'll get some drawings, and then.
Sounds good. Well, an architect would be very helpful.
You probably don't need an
Any
architect, probably,
competent engineer would be.
most of your contractors can just, draw it.
You're
No, there's no such thing as a competent engineer.
competent contractor?
Well, there's a lot of, the only reason that I would suggest going with an architect is because I think that what you're trying to do is figure out what's what. Now, either you get a contractor who has done a lot and he can sort of advise you as to what you got and what can be saved. With an engineer, I find that they tend to be less adventurous or flexible as far as dealing with things.
Okay.
I should probably,
Take a nap?
No, I should probably stop talking because,
All should, thank you so much.
And it's only 10 of 12.
On the
You
record, how do you
added
feel
me,
about
and I
engineering?
know, I mean, that was, this must have been
Sent very much
painful on
hate.
your end, but thank you so much.
Thank you.
We wanna make this happen. I misspoke, your wife was the nurse.
Yes.
Oh my God, my kids, yes, nurse, it's just wonderful. She was
and
wonderful.
my kids did go to Haldane, so, what years were your kids there?
My daughter, my son went to elementary and middle school there, so that was up to 96, I guess, from 86 to 96, 87 to 96. My daughter went from 92, she graduated in 2000.
Okay.
2004, no, 2004. 2004, she
Oh.
was in the class of 2004.
Okay, because, let me see, my son graduated, I guess he graduated from, my daughter graduated from college in the year 2000, no, 1999. And my son graduated from college in the year 2000.
Oh, so they're just about 4 years older than my kids, because my son is 34, just turned 35, and our daughter just turned 31. So, yeah, we've been here since 87, so that was the.
Yeah, they probably played rec soccer.
My
and
husband
stuff.
started the program and then ran the program for many, many years, Liam Gillespie, the rec soccer,
Well,
kickers and all of that.
Yeah, because I was on the rec commission,
Yeah.
and I think I remember when, because he would periodically
He
come
and
in.
Karen Bridge-Dahmer had it.
Right. They would come in and do a report at the end of the season.
Yes, yes. All right, thank you so, so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sleep tight. I couldn't believe when I saw your schedule, I thought you probably have lives during the day and then come and do this.
Yes.
When you said it's past my bedtime, I said,
Now we're tired, huh?
you and me both, my gosh.
Um,
And these two,
yeah.
here, just
And they're
so,
falling asleep too.
so quiet, so just,
What?
We need a quorum in order to adjourn.
I'm sorry. Oh, but I can go, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you
No,
so
hang on a moment, I'll walk up
Okay,
with you.
all right, thank you so
Well,
Okay,
much.
we have a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
I move to adjourn?
Are we gonna discuss this thing from, CUC?
Are you kidding me?
No.
Oh.
It's almost midnight.
Okay.
No.
Kathleen's gonna
Do
ask
we
you
have a
people?
second? Do we have a
Yes,
second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.